Hi folks, I'm on Android.com where we get on Android every day. Anyway, I've been slacking off, so I might as well give you a cool video you can do. I actually was installing Xposed on a bunch of my phones just for the hell of it. Anyway, Xposed Installer allows you to use modules to do a lot of cool stuff like Xposed app settings. Allows you to resize any apps. For example, Netflix, you want to see more titles, you can go and resize it. For example, there's a lot of apps that will detect that you have a rooted phone. Then you can use root cloak and cloak your root, like banking apps and stuff. That way you can use a rooted phone and still use banking apps. So Xposed is very useful, and I know a lot of you actually use it, and a lot of you have been actually telling me you refuse to upgrade to Lollipop just because you're so dependent on all your Xposed modules. Now you can pretty much install Xposed, the beta version, on most of the Lollipop out there, including Samsung devices, Nexus devices, HTC devices, and the instructions out there right now are sort of cluttered. So I've tried to put it all in one page on my site and try to organize it a little bit so you can easily install it. So sort of an easy tutorial so you can follow. You'll just need your phone. Of course, you'll need a rooted phone with a custom ROM most likely. For Samsung devices, you'll need a DODX ROM, custom ROM. For other devices like Nexus 6, Nexus 5, Nexus 4, HTC, you should be able to run it on stock ROM or custom ROM. So let's go ahead and do this. Less talking, more doing. Let's go do this, baby. Hi guys, so let me go ahead and show you using my Note 4 here, but it will work on most Android devices. I'll outline all this stuff you have to download. This is running Android 5.1.1 AOSP ROM. This is a CR Droid ROM I just featured. Also, this is I think a stock TouchWiz ROM, Android 5.0.2. So I'll point out all the cases. Now, you can go to all the different XDA threads, but I've actually try to organize it as best as I can on my site, so that way you can go to just one site and find all the files you need. Go to my site, hit the menu button, go under ROMs, go to Xposed for Lollipop Android 5.0, 5.1. Basically, you'll need to download the Xposed installer for Lollipop. This is for all devices. Go ahead and click link here and go ahead and download the file. And I've also included the original XDA thread. The reason why I didn't include the original XDA thread for all these is because it's kind of confusing. This way I can put the links and also the files I've used. But you can go ahead and check the XDA thread here for all the files to get the latest version. If you're watching this in like a month or two, my files on my site I might have not updated, then go ahead and check XDA for the latest version. Once you have downloaded the first file, it's an APK file. You need to download the appropriate framework SDK second. Now there's different versions for different devices. For example, I'm running Android 5.1.1. It's on AOSP ROM, or maybe you have a Nexus 6 or Nexus 6 running Android 5.1 or 5.1.1. Go ahead and go here and download the appropriate version. Now there's 3 different files, one for ARM, one for ARM64 or x86. ARM will work for most Android devices like Nexus 4, Nexus 5, Nexus 6, Note 2, Note 3, Note 4. All devices that are non-64-bit. That's pretty much most Android devices out there. Now newer 64-bit devices, sorry, I just got back from Korea, losing my English. Nexus 9, LG G4, these all have 64-bit processors, so you'll have to download that instead. Also, if you have an Intel-based device, which is not too common, but like a Zenfone 2, you can go ahead and download that. This is only for Android 5.1, 5.1.1, and go ahead and download the file. For me, I've downloaded the one for ARM, so go ahead and click link there. Or also you can go ahead and check XDA for the latest version. Now if you're running a TouchWiz ROM, such as this one here, let me actually go ahead and show you. Any TouchWiz ROM that is running Lollipop, all right, I'm running actually Android 5.0.1. You can go ahead and download the one for TouchWiz. This is only for TouchWiz ROMs. Now make sure your ROM is actually DODX. Most custom ROMs are if you're running custom ROM. If you're running stock rooted ROM, it's not DODX. So you'll have to either download the ODEX stock ROM or download a custom ROM and install that, because you'll end up in a boot loop. What you can do is make a backup ROM and install it, and if it ends you up in a boot loop, then just restore your ROM if you don't know how to check it. But you can basically Google your ROM name plus XDA, and then find the XDA thread if you're running a custom ROM and find out it's the ODEX, but it's most likely the ODEX. All right, for all Samsung devices, you can go ahead and download this link here. Also, there is an optimized version. I actually haven't tried it, but all Samsung devices, you can go ahead and use that. This is for TouchWiz. All right, if you're running non-TouchWiz ROMs, AOSP ROM, but you're on 5.0, 5.0.1, 5.0.2, older, actually it should say CM12, sorry. Older ROMs, AOSP ROMs, or a Nexus 6, a Nexus 4, Nexus 5, go ahead and download this one. This is actually the original Lollipop beta Xposed, and then these are all by XDA developers. I'll have all the credits link on my site, so don't forget to donate to these guys because they spent a lot of time making these files. I think they're actually, I got their names here. XDA user ROM Racer, he made the one for 5.1, and also XDA user Ardor97, he made all the Xposed for Samsung Lollipop. So don't forget to donate to these guys. And of course, the official at Rovo89, XDA user Rovo89, he's the official Xposed people. So don't forget to donate to those guys. All right, so if you have 2 files downloaded, you're good to go. And if you ever need to uninstall it, there is an uninstaller. I've actually put it down at the bottom so you can grab that too. But sometimes I found that you end up in a boot loop. All right, and let me go ahead and show you those files to make it clear here. If I go to my file manager, download, you'll see that I have the Xposed installer, the first file, and the second file, the SDK file here. This is the framework SDK file, appropriate for your device. First thing you'll need to do is install the installer, and I'll also go ahead and show you on my TouchWiz. I've got, instead of, the only thing that's different is the SDK file. So I've got Xposed installer there, right there, and also the SDK. You can see it's the Ardor97. All right. So once you have those files, download it to your phone. Simply go ahead and install the installer, the APK file. Press on it, install. It might ask you to check unknown sources on. Go ahead and do that because these files don't contain any virus or anything like that. Go ahead and open the Xposed installer. You'll see that the framework says it's not installed. All right. Before, you could just install it without using clock mod or twrp recovery. But now we're going to go ahead and reboot into twrp recovery or clock mod recovery if you're using that. You go ahead and do that for both here. All right, the app itself installs. Now this is a very important part since it can break your phone. So I do highly recommend making a backup ROM, or if you have a ton of stuff on your phone, what you can do is use one of these OTG cables. If you're using twrp recovery, you can go ahead and back up to here. Also, you can just back up. Well, actually, you don't have to back up. You can go ahead and make sure you have the original ROM file. Then what you can do is just install the ROM file over it without wipe. That should also recover your phone. Let me go ahead and put both of these in recovery. All right. And next, you simply install the SDK file. You download it. Go to install. Oh, make sure you make a backup ROM. So do that and make a backup ROM. And I've already made it, so I'm not going to do it again. Go ahead and go to install and install the framework SDK. That's the file with the SDK in it. All right, for both, I'm going to do SDK here. So this is for my 5.1.1 AOSP. This is for my TouchWiz. That's the only difference between these. Also, if you're running 5.0 AOSP or Nexus 6 or Nexus 5, Nexus 4, the SDK will be different. Other than that, it's pretty much the same for all kinds of different Android devices, or if you're using Intel, you'll have to use the Intel SDK. And it should boot, and it should have, your framework now should be installed, and you should be able to use all of your favorite Xposed modules and be on your way to being happy installing Lollipop ROMs. And if it boots like this, you're good to go. If it doesn't boot, either your ROM, something wrong with your ROM, or you've installed the wrong file. Hopefully you made a backup ROM and restore your ROM, and double check your files. If you have the right files, then maybe it just doesn't work. Sometimes it can happen. Also for TouchWiz, there's not a version for 5.1.1, so if you're running TouchWiz ROM with 5.1.1, you're out of luck for now. So I would say if you absolutely need Xposed, just stick with 5.0 for now. And now if you go to Xposed Installer, you should see, go to Framework, and you'll see that installation is active here, installed, and also installed here. Now you'll be able to use your modules. Now I've noticed that sometimes the modules don't work correctly until you reboot, like Xposed app settings, but once you reboot, it works just fine. But for all the other apps, should work pretty good. Most of the apps tested actually work pretty good. So definitely install it. If you're worried about not being able to use Xposed, you can. And I hope this guide helps you install it. That's pretty much it. And thanks for watching this video. Now you should be able to install Xposed on your Lollipop devices, most Lollipop devices. And if there's any new ways to install Xposed for the Samsung TouchWiz 5.1.1, I'll definitely update it on my YouTube channel, on my site, all that good stuff. Anyway, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Google+, Instagram, and I'll see you guys soon. As always, stay